Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice sunny, actually Tuesday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Plenty to talk about today in the short-term time frame, but realistically, the setup is likely for around when U.S. markets open a little bit later today. That's kind of when I do expect a bit more of fun action, if you will, as we kind of suggested yesterday. And just in case you happen to give a fuck, in my own statistical analysis, the most volatile days for Bitcoin are actually Wednesday, followed by closely by Tuesday, I should say, and then like a distant third is Thursday. Other than that, usually typically range bound within this market, but overall I do believe that we have a similar setup actually going on as yesterday right now. So I will once again be going over that and sort of what to be, or at least what I'm looking at for the next 24 to 48 hours right here. Anyways, with that in mind, if I could humbly request, if you do find this content valuable, or if you just want to get back in a nice and free way, the best way to do that is to simply like the video. You can always dislike the video after the video as well, and it's fair enough, man. I understand. Anyways, let's actually jump right into the charts right now. We're actually going to swing back into the Krown trading application a little bit later, but for right now in the short-term timeframes, yes, we still do have a bit of a trap situation set up here. However, just like yesterday, it is contingent upon a validation condition, which has not been met. We actually tested right into it yesterday many times, around just around 29,500-ish region, but no 4-hour closures below that. So thus, the setup was certainly not confirmed within this case. However, it is still viable and valid as potential as long as we're essentially below yesterday's high. So that is the main condition that I'm looking at for myself, and that's at about 31,416 on BitMexico. Check your exchange because it will be, slightly different from here to there. And in the short-term time frames, to be fair, it looks like Bitcoin probably does want to put in a bit of a rally somewhere around about $31,000. Certainly not out of the question, but here is the conditions that I still have for the short-term time frames to confirm a bit of a trap situation here, and then we'll come at it from another angle in the higher term time frames, because I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be making new lows from here before first trying some greater upside essentially, and we'll go over a statistical analysis of that. But basically it's due to this chart right here. We still see that there is potential hidden bearish divergence of many drives built up right here on both the 4-hour and the 6-hour. That's about as high as it goes in this case, and the validation condition for it would still be the same as yesterday, below 29,500 on a 4-hour closure. Then that gets validated, and I would be looking for a pullback, very likely somewhere down around here, about the 618 Fibonacci retracement, which is the $28,000 region. Anywhere around there is completely fine. Wicks below, completely fine as well. Just hopefully, for the boolah's sake, no closures below, as I would be looking at that as a quick little fake out, with Bitcoin very likely and very poised to trade higher. Again, very, very short term here, though. I do think that Bitcoin probably puts in a rally somewhere, maybe even just slightly north of $31,000. So let's talk about the other side of the equation if that rally in the short term gets extended here. So if we do see even just a tick above yesterday's high, then I would be looking for a nice little assault on the short-term timeframes. No trappy situations, somewhere back around the highs that we did see from the 10th of May in this blue box right here, which is between about 32.5 to maybe even as much as 33 even or so. It's actually adjusted because it's not done properly right there, but there we go. Anyways, in this case, it should also be known that on the sort of, I guess on sort of the other side here, that these conditions are still present as well. As I go reference the 6-hour stochastic momentum, we do see that it is still downside angled, and that will actually be consistent as long as Bitcoin is closing below 30,729. The 4-hour is also going to be downside angled, but is going to have a chance to cross up here with any sort of a closure above 30,000 bucks. So Bitcoin will have a short-term, will have a try here in the short term. And the question for myself is, do we trade above yesterday's high or not? Until then, 31,000-ish, maybe a little bit above there, very likely. But ultimately, it's 31,400 and some change right there that I'd be looking at as a bit of an interesting area. Because above there, I would be looking for this rally to extend like another, 1,000 to 1,500 higher. Ultimately, though, the general gist of the higher term timeframes is still very likely a bounce higher into probably even the mid 30,000s before potentially going lower later, maybe later this month or early June, if you will. So we're actually starting to eat up this month quite a fair bit now. Anyways, in that case, I should go back on over here, explain the daily BBWP as to why I don't really, think that we're going to be going lower than our current low anytime soon. But hey, if Bitcoin were to close below not $28,000, I would would be remiss to say that. Be very likely extremely wrong on that. But in this case right here, we do see that daily BBWP is officially below the moving average now for a couple ticks actually. So I'm looking for a corrective move overall. Again, that could very easily include a short-term trappy situation, but ultimately trading higher throughout, maybe the next few days. Something like this, I think, is kind of most likely to happen if we do confirm the trap situation again below 29.5 or so. But if we were to get something like this, boom, trade somewhere down into the low 28s or maybe even mid 28s, anywhere around there is fine, and then get a nice little spike low and then up. That would look really, 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 really good for a nice low for now essentially. On top of that, the other things that I should mention are over here on the Krown trading application. We do see that the funny rates are actually 0% on the daily, but if we go down to the hourly, it is showing ever so slightly negative rates. So again, very, very short term here. I do think that Bitcoin trades somewhere, maybe somewhere around 31,000 bucks or so. Give or take, a small amount from that number. But ultimately, this is not super concerning for the upside nor the downside with very small numbers like this. But once it starts to tick positive, that's where I would be cognizant of potential high to be put in. Anyways, other than that, I stick with this same sort of condition over here for generally looking for upside on the daily, if you will, before again potentially a move lower, which I actually do think is kind of likely over a long enough period of time. That could be another month, could be another few weeks, could be another couple months. I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. But in this case right here, as long as the daily stochastic momentum is angled to the upside, which will be present as long as Bitcoin is closing on a daily closing basis above 28,200. I'm generally looking for Bitcoin to put in a corrective bounce alongside, extreme conditions over here on BBWP. Again, corrective within the context of our current trend is very likely, going to put in another lower high. But, gives a bit of reprieve and a reason for everyone to get excited yet again, because everyone loves being bullish. Anyways, to the upside, 32.5 to 33,000 bucks, a big area right here. Also going to be an alignment, not with that blue box, but also the 382 fibs on the last major move. I think I had it on maybe this chart, something like this chart right here. Yeah, it is this chart actually. The 382 at about 32.5 or so on CME, and we'll go back on over here. And then also, of course, that nice little blue box, as you can see right there as well. So ultimately, and also the daily 21 actually, now that I recognize it, yes, is swinging around that region. So I would be looking for pullbacks there, at least in the short term, if Bitcoin were to bust on through before having a little bit of a downside move. But ultimately, at that point, I do think that Bitcoin would actually have a little bit more busting action to the upside as well. And that is due to this chart over here. This is the big one for me. And if you're more like long-term minded, this is probably maybe more important to you as well. Anyways, I'll briefly run through this and then we'll actually add something new to this today. So if you have been, on this channel for a while now, I'm not just going to repeat the same goddamn thing over time. But in this case right here, I'll explain this chart. This is the 5-day volatility versus momentum chart. This indicator right here in front of your face is BBWP, measuring volatility to dispersion of returns. Anytime that we have seen it in the mid-teens or especially lower, the expansion phase from that has had an average move of about 45% done over the course of 40 days, again, on average. And because volatility is direction neutral, we've seen these moves happen both the upside and the downside. We did play out that last recent move to the downside, obviously, and that one came in, pretty much right on track, actually. Funny how statistics works. Fucking crazy, isn't it? Anyways, 47% move to the downside done over the course of literally fucking 40 days. Wow, insane, man. Anyways, what I want to explain now is what do we expect as far as historically speaking, statistically speaking, the mean reversion play after that initial signal has played out. So in this case, to do that, we'll just take the last few ones over here and we'll measure these ones out. In this case, we do see that, this, for example, after the target was met, the bounce up was about 30%. And let me actually see, how many days did this take? Took about 10. Yeah, it took about 10 days right there to meet that one. So I should actually write that down because I haven't done this just yet, but 10 days, just keep that in your mind. This one over here takes 15 days from high to low on that mean reversion play. And also the percentage points was about 25%. Same thing over here, or similar thing over here, I should say. This one about 20 days actually, and 22% mean reversion play before the next signal sets up right here, obviously. This one plays all the way out. This one a little bit longer, 65 days, 45%. The majority of that, the strong majority of that, however, was done pretty much on this first bounce right here, which was 20 days. So we have 10, 15, 20, 20, basically. And what's the average of that? You know, somewhere around 15, doing some bad mental math right now. Somewhere around there, maybe a little bit higher just because we got two 20s, but maybe I'm just embarrassing myself by trying to do a calculator in my brain right now. But anyways, I've taken the average one of that mean reversion play off of all four of those past ones. And yes, we can go back further than that, but I don't want this to be too much of a mouthful. And it was an average move about 31.1%. If we were to only look at the downside moves, the average on that was about 38% mean reversion. So in this case, where would those numbers essentially put us? And does it line up with anything else? Well, one, we've already bounced up like, 20, 24, 25%. So that's not too helpful, but 31% puts Bitcoin. Oh, that's fucking crazy, at about 33, just above 33,000 bucks, about 33,500 or so. So that is very much in alignment with the short-term blue box overhead, if you will, from the prior chart. And then if we were to go with just the average counter move on the only downside moves, actually a little bit more, it was about 38%. And we're probably looking somewhere more around 35,000 bucks. $35,000, very fucking interesting now, isn't it? Why is that? Because $35,000 is one, where the last CME gap is from the 6th of May. Two, it's also going to be the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement. And then three, we probably have like the 55 coming in around there on spot price. Actually, it will come around there at some point, but actually not right now, to be fair. So ultimately, that's kind of where I'd be looking for if Bitcoin does bust on through just this blue box right here. And we can kind of expect that move to happen, historically speaking, within the next, let's just say 15 days. So, somewhere between about 2 and 3 weeks, something like that, maybe a little bit more on the lower end, because the downside moves typically do have their mean reversion play out a little bit faster than the upside moves, to be fair. And so when would that kind of project us, seeing as we just ended the last one on the... this was not last night, but the night before that, Sunday night. So what day was that actually? 15th? Yeah, it was 15th. 15th. So let's just add 15 days of that. That's basically end of month here. So end of May, somewhere around there, probably looking at a bounce, maybe even as much as $35,000. Above $35,000, things actually still do not really change for me on the macro. I'm still pretty heavily bearish on Bitcoin, especially as long as we're below 40, for example. So lower highs and lower lows, baby. Trend is fucking crazy now, isn't it? Anyways, other than that, I think that's a good place to kind of leave this one off. Ultimately, if you are more long-term focused, I do think that Bitcoin's a lot likely to play out that move over the next few weeks here before, potentially going lower, or at least retesting the lows. I do think that that's rather likely as well. The question right now, at least in the short term for myself, is do we get another move to the bottom side, somewhere between about 28, maybe even 29, something like that, something like this basically, and then try for that move, or does it just try for it right here? I don't have a strong opinion on that. My validation condition for the downside playing out first would be, again, below 29.5 on a 4-hour closure. With that said, I'll be signing off right there. I want to wish you well. Take care. And fuck, I forgot to shill my Instagram. I've been posting on Instagram like a fucking madman recently, and there's a bunch of scammers on there as well. The only real Instagram account that I do have is in the link in the description below. Any other account is a scammer. Bybit, yes, good old Bybit shill for the leverage trading exchange for the degens out there. Of course, I always want to say when it comes to leverage trading, make sure that you have already worked out a working profitable strategy, or preferably profitable strategy beforehand, which you can test for free on things like the Krown trading application, or you can do it on like Microsoft Excel, or you can do it literally on pen and paper, whatever you might have. I strongly recommend, not that I'm your fucking dad, to test these things out so you can make sure that whatever strategy that you are looking at is, likely to get good results for you. Anyways, with that said, I'll be signing off now. I guess I should just have one last little thing. Below 28,000 bucks, fucking terrible. But for right now, okay. All right, let's end it right there. Take care and see you hopefully soon.